Advance and be recognized, everyone, and welcome to the Sitrep podcast, your forward operations space for all things military and historical wargaming. I am your host, Oriskany Jim, and today we're back to finish up our 20mm operational level wargame of Iwo Jima using Pete Panzeri's Rommel Rules system. So we started this game last week. There's a link to part 1 in the description of this video. Check it out if you're interested in this material. We talked about the sheer size of Pete's table and the number of figures in his game, and a very brief overview of the history and context of the Battle of Iwo Jima itself. But the biggest reason I wanted to feature this game on the channel was the operational command level in Pete's system. Operational wargaming, quite frankly, is something we don't see nearly enough on this channel. I'm going to start working on that. Put most simply, operational level wargaming concerns itself much less with the conduct of an individual battle as it does with staging an entire campaign. I mean, let's get real, Iwo Jima lasted 36 days in real life at least, and when the fight lasts that long, things like inter-service coordination, supply, logistics, resource allocation, engineering construction, all these things become just as important as the actual combat, if not even more so. A single turn can cover a day, several days, or even weeks of operations. A single game piece can represent a company, battalion, regiment, or even a division, and a single throw of the dice can resolve the combat operations normally resolved in dozens of tactical or skirmish wargames. So Pete himself is playing the Japanese, Mark Ritchie is commanding 4th Marine Division, Tom is commanding 5th Marine Division, and very shortly you're going to see 3rd Marine Division come ashore, commanded by myself and my friend Jim Dundorf. Now, historically, 3rd Marine Division doesn't come ashore until D+4, but again, when a single turn of your game covers an entire day of operations, you're going to get to D+4 pretty quickly. Historically, 3rd Marine Division only put ashore 9th and 21st Marine Regiments, along with the 12th Marine Artillery Regiment. This was a decision undertaken by the overall commander, Lieutenant General Holland or Howland Mad Smith. Probably not one of our favorites, for a whole host of reasons that I won't get into right now. But since we're in command now, we've made the decision that we're going to put the whole 3rd Marine Division on the table. That means 3rd Marine Regiment is going to join the other units soon to be deployed. Also, you're going to see how Jim Dundorf and I use these new Marine regiments in a very different manner than was done during the actual campaign. Historically, 3rd Mar Div landed and then pivoted north along with 4th and 5th Marine Divisions, taking its place in more or less the center of the Marine line. But here in our game table, well, rather than continuing to talk about it, how about we just head over to the footage and we see how the rest of Pete Panzeri's Iwo Jima mega game shakes out. Here we are, back at it. We are several turns into our Iwo Jima mega game, and we are thus several days into the Iwo Jima invasion. And currently, more Japanese gun positions have been revealing themselves. Notice that Pete only puts the actual artillery pieces when the Japanese reveal them to open fire, and doing their damage against nearby naval bombardment ships. However, the US Navy has also fired back, and we are now taking a grim harvest off of these Japanese artillery positions. They've scored plenty of hits on the American ships, more than were recorded historically, but the damage back at the Japanese has been grim. 13 total hits. That's going to wipe out all 6 heavy batteries the Japanese have on this face of Mount Suribachi, and most of their medium batteries as well. Other American warships are targeting Japanese gun positions further north, like here at the quarry, and there's the roll, pretty sweet roll, which is good news because, wow, the quarry has already inflicted way too much damage here on the right flank of 4th Marine Division. The rest of Mark's naval gunnery is targeting Japanese gun positions further inland. You see those white poofs? Each of those is a destroyed Japanese gun position. And here we are checking in on 5th Marine Division sector, further south near Mount Suribachi, where Tom is now in the raid phase. And what he's doing is he's engaging this Japanese bunker complex with some close combat. This is the close combat and close assault phase that I thought I had missed in part 1 of this video. Turns out it just hadn't happened yet. They're resolving this close combat now and hopefully knocking out that bunker. Heading back to the American Air phase, and once again we do apologize, these should be some sort of Navy or Marine aircraft instead of the P-38s you see here, but these are the miniatures that we have available. Either way, Mark makes his roll, and holy hell, look at those dice. He needs 6s, he got plenty of them, and that's going to be more than enough hits to eliminate that Japanese blockhouse, and here's another Japanese position that is going to be wiped out in an airstrike as well. Speaking of Japanese blockhouses, it's now their phase of the game, and as I understand it, this is different from the Japanese heavy bombardment phase where they can target American warships, for example. These are more like heavy Japanese mortars that strictly target Marine ground units, like these 5 Marine rifle companies they just blew out of 4th Marine Division sector. Checking in with Tom, it sounds like 5th Marine Division has also lost another 5 Marine rifle companies. That's 10 companies in all. That's damn near a regiment, dude. Despite these losses, 5th Marine Division continues its advance. They're still trying to cut across that narrow neck of Iwo Jima and seal off Mount Suribachi. I mean, Tom's pushing his guys as best he can. He's just running across a lot of resistance as he goes. And as we mentioned last week, we have these labels on the map, these unit labels. These aren't just for historical context and accuracy. These are important for the game mechanic purposes because they track what units are subordinate to what units are in supply, and so on. Like, here are the supply units, my 3043s and 3051 box kickers. E4 Mafia, baby, you gotta represent. Speaking of rear echelon activities, notice some of these Marine armored fighting vehicles have red poker checks underneath them. This represents that they are at the Divisional Repair Depot, hopefully to return to the game at a later time. Meanwhile, looks like Mark is trying to push his 25th Marine Regiment in a flanking move around the quarry. Okay, here we go. 3rd Marine Division is finally in the game. You're looking at 9th and 21st Marine Regiments along with the 12th Marine Artillery Regiment. Long story short, take your first shot. Oriskany Jim is in the game, and yes, I've already lost my first units. Well, that didn't take very long. Yeah, apparently as I was coming ashore, some Japanese artillery batteries got some opportunity fire on me. Okay, so I've lost some figures, I've lost one of my artillery batteries, and now we're trying to figure out which leader I've lost. Basically, I get to pick between my Naval Gunfire Observer and my Marine Regiment Commander. I'm going to choose to lose my Naval Gunfire Observer. Nothing against the Navy, but I need someone who can actually command my grunts in combat. So, what I'm going to be doing here is executing a bit of a right pivot here against the quarry. So, looking forward to that. Meanwhile, we also, in addition to the 9th and 21st, we do have the 3rd Marine Regiment, which historically did not land. That was not actually part of the Battle of Iwo Jima. We may bring them in for this game, though. The good news is, fire is simultaneous, so that destroyed artillery battery still gets to shoot as it's dying. Let me roll 4 dice on him before I lose track. Okay, he scored no hits anyway, and he is now officially out of the game. Alright, meanwhile, my 9th Marine Regiment is going to be out of range for this immediate assault, so it looks like it's just going to be 21st Marines going up the slope to the quarry. Okay, now for the assault on the quarry itself. I begin with a grand total of 28 dice worth of attacking units. That gets divided in half because obviously I'm up against concealed and entrenched positions. Redoubled back to 28 because I am using combined arms. I am looking for 6s, and oh wow, I'm glad that roll was on camera, because that was pretty sweet. So there's my first 15 dice. I got a total of 5 hits so far. So I'm going to roll another 13 dice to get to the rest of my 28 dice pool. Again, I'm looking for 6s, and that's another pretty sweet roll. So I get a grand total of 9 total hits. And yeah, there aren't even 9 targets there. Normally I would need some extra hits to account for that leader there. For every 3rd hit, you get to choose your unit you attack, and then you have to roll to see if you actually knock out the leader. But since I more than easily killed everything that was in there, the leader just dies anyway. Now, that's the end of the quarry. Quick word, because I made that look really easy. You guys gotta remember that quarry position really took a big nasty slice out of Mark's 4th Marine Division earlier in the game. Plus, it's been getting absolutely hammered by all kinds of naval gunfire support, and Mark even engaged it with some of his tanks and long-range artillery in some earlier phases of the game. So, yeah, the quarry was one of the worst positions historically on Iwo Jima. I know I just made it look really easy, but let's be real, I was really just mopping up that position. Meanwhile, on the invasion's opposite wing, we have Tom pushing Marines of 28th Marines, 5th Marine Division up the slopes of Mount Suribachi, right where they belong historically. Unfortunately, they're making lots of new Japanese friends along the way. You gotta remember, Japanese positions are only revealed once the Marines get within a certain draw distance, and then it immediately breaks out into an exchange of fire and close combat. And what Tom's trying to do here is, number 1, get a foothold on Mount Suribachi, number 2, cut across the neck of Iwo Jima, and number 3, clear this beach area, because what we're going to do is we're going to put 3rd Marine Regiment ashore under the command of Jim Dundorf to help on Mount Suribachi. Heading over here to 4th Marine Division sector, you can see where Mark's units are really getting thinned out, not only by the incredible amounts of attrition he's up against, but also a problem of expanding frontage. Now, I'm bringing up 9th Marine Regiment on his right wing to try to help him out with that, but what you guys are going to see is 3rd and 4th Marine Divisions are more or less going to switch places as compared to where they were historically. So historically, 3rd Marine Division was in the center of the island while 4th continued to hug the coast. Here, Mark's going to drive inland while I continue to hug the coast with 3rd Marine Division. In addition, we are also going to commit 3rd Marine Regiment. This is a part of 3rd Marine Division that was never actually committed during the actual Battle of Iwo Jima, but we're going to commit them now under Jim Dundorf's command, and what he's going to do is break left to help Tom on Mount Suribachi. Now we're into the Marine Blitz phase, and this is where the Marine units, after most of the combat has gone back and forth, are allowed to move forward until they come into contact or until they come within a certain distance of more potential Japanese positions. And again, those are those inverted bottle caps that you see there. Alright, so I'm allowed to move into contact with them or within a certain distance. I'm just not allowed to move past them. So I sure as hell do not want to pay for the quarry twice. So I'm going to move as fast as I can through the quarry and into what was historically called the Amphitheater. This was another butcher's pit of absolute horrific combat during the Battle of Iwo Jima. Hopefully I don't pay as much in blood and tears and everything else that the Marines paid historically, taking that little bowl you see there that's labeled Amphitheater. So yeah, I've gone ahead, I've moved all my Marine companies forward, mostly 21st Marines. 9th Marines are moving in on their left wing and maintaining contact with Mark's 4th Marine Division further off to my left. You see them there. And what happens now is Pete starts rolling to see what Japanese positions are actually going to emerge in these locations. And yeah, there are the results. He did not take it easy on me, I'll tell you that much. So based on the results of Pete's rolls, he is now populating what Japanese units actually emerge out of those bottle cap positions. The bottle caps are removed, they're replaced with actual Japanese units now, and yeah, it's going to get hairy from here. So we've got at least 2 full companies with field guns, flanking machine gun support, and leaders, and some other positions that just have single Japanese rifle companies. Yeah, it's going to get rough from here. Alright, so here where 9th Marines are more in the center of the island, I will have some support from the remnants of my 12th Artillery Regiment. Remember, I lost 1 full battery just coming onto the sand, so yeah, wasn't too happy about that. And here is where I have to engage the rest of the Japanese units in the Amphitheater. Again, you see those Japanese field guns, you see flanking machine gun positions, and so on. Alright, so what I'm trying to do here is make sure that I have what's called combined arms fire. So I did lose one of my engineer units there, that's why I bring up the combined arms fire. I'm not too happy about that, because in order to get the combined arms bonus, I have to combine not only my rifle attacks, but I have to combine them with at least 2 elements of support. That's tanks, mortars, artillery, or again, those very, very valuable engineer units. Okay, let's see what kind of firepower I'm actually talking about here. So I count up all my rifle companies, and looks like I have 11 here surviving with 21st Marine Regiment. Very nice. I still have engineers supporting 21st, and I still have some mortars. So I'll still get my combined arms, which is good, because 3rd Marine Division did not land with any tanks, and I'm going to need my surviving battery of 12th Marine Artillery Regiment to support 9th Marines further inland. Okay. And no, Mark, before you ask, will not let me borrow any of his 4th Division tanks because I yelled at him to clear my landing beaches earlier in the game, and now he doesn't like me anymore. But that's okay, I still get 2 out of the 3 qualifying units to give me my combined arms. So let's start chucking some dice. Alright, my first batch is, not so good. I only wound up with 2 hits there. My second batch, okay, now we're cooking with gas. 4 more hits gives me a total of 6 hits. Cool. Now, for every 3rd hit, I get to select what target I choose to destroy, so I'm definitely going after that field gun. I'll pick that guy for my second chosen hit just because. Now I get to kill 4 more random figures, so I'll just take these guys more or less at random. And yeah, we're still looking at 2 Japanese companies holding the center of the amphitheater. So what I'll do is I'll handle 9th Regiment's assault off camera so I don't slow down the game, and we'll check in to see how that went. Good news, Mark has chosen to be cool after all and send me some tank fire support out of 4th Marine Division sector and help my 9th Marine Regiment up this hill. So that will put me again back into combined arms territory. And long story short, take your second shot. 9th Marines has cleared that hill in one big momentous assault. Again, thanks to Mark for the tank support, that really did help. It allowed me to double my dice pool. But of course, even then, it wasn't free, and I did take some casualties. Meanwhile, 28th Marine Regiment is winning the battle for Mount Suribachi. Notice there are no more Japanese units in front of them. They have cleared all these caves and spider holes, so good to go there. And now, as we approach another American Blitz phase, do the Marines get to just dash up the rest of the hill to the summit? Turns out, not really, because they can only go up 1 level at a time. So the contours of this gigantic miniature Suribachi are important. So they're going to have to sort of flank the mountain around both sides there, and that's kind of what they had to do historically, is seal it off and then shrink their way up to the top. Overnight comes the Marine raid phase, and this is where I'm going to get some extra attacks against any Japanese units that have been previously revealed and are within a certain distance. So I'm checking to make sure that this pinned down leader is also destroyed. Because his only constituent unit was destroyed, he's destroyed as well. And that's more or less going to give me the amphitheater, which I'm very happy to say, because, man, that was another absolute bloodbath. But at least now the way looks clear for me to advance toward those positions on the far side. Okay, both sides are now beginning their heavy bombardment phase. For the Americans, naturally, this is their big battleships and heavy cruisers they have offshore. And for the Japanese, it's going to be their various calibers of naval guns and heavy army howitzers that they have in place all over this island. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy, but Marine casualties in our game have actually been kind of light, at least when you compare it to the absolute slaughter of the actual Iwo Jima invasion. And one of the big reasons for that is, as the Japanese player, Pete is choosing to put a lot more of his very heavy artillery against the American warships. I'm not really sure why, to be honest, but I can tell you this much for free: my 3rd Division grunts are not complaining as the Navy soaks up some of this Japanese artillery damage. These warships historically did take some hits, but nothing like the absolute pounding that you guys are looking at here. Okay, here we are back to the American airstrike phase, and my teammates are letting me roll some of these dice. Why? I don't really know. Oh, maybe that's why, because I scored 2 hits out of my first 4 dice. So that'll finish off that position, no problem. And for that second airstrike, there at the top of your screen, I'm going to roll 4 more dice. I only get 1 hit there, so that'll be 1 more level of damage against that Japanese blockhouse. But nothing is free on Iwo Jima, because here comes Pete with the anti-aircraft fire roll, and long story short, take your 3rd shot. Yeah, that's going to cost me 1 of my fighter figures. Now we're on to Japanese blockhouse fire phase, and I'll be honest, there aren't that many blockhouses left, at least on those parts of Iwo Jima we have represented on the table. But one spot where the Japanese do still have a lot of blockhouses are on the slopes of Mount Suribachi, and they're absolutely pouring fire on these very exposed positions of 5th Marine Division right beneath them. Now, as Pete fires them, he's going to reveal them. So 4 batteries have fired, they've scored 2 hits, they've knocked out 2 more Marine companies out of 5th Marine Division, but now, as you can see, all 4 of those Japanese gun batteries have fired, and thus they are revealed. Pete puts them on the table, and now they can be counter-engaged by either Marine tanks or artillery landed on the beach. Back in 3rd Marine Division sector, I have pushed forward with 21st Marine Regiment, and yeah, turns out I didn't quite clear the whole amphitheater after all. We have some flanking positions that I either didn't see before or they have popped up, and I have to deal with these problems here on my flanks. So I've got 2 problems here. Number 1, he rolled really well on what Japanese units were actually going to be in those new positions, and they are in divergent locations, so I'm going to have to sort of divide my firepower in 2 different directions to engage. Also, my dice absolutely shit the bed, so I got 1 hit out of that first batch of 15 dice. Yay, I knocked out 1 whole figure. Ooh. Alright, this one's a little bit better. I've got a lot more Marines for 9th Marine Regiment that I can bring in to attack this position. So I'm going to see, oh yeah, there's 1 more unit there behind the hill. I can't forget to count him. Alright, so I have a total of 18 dice. Here come the first 15. As always, I'm looking for 6s. And, I mean, that's not horrible. I got 3 hits out of 15. I guess that's, you know, slightly better than... Ooh, 2 more hits there. Okay. So, yeah, I overkilled the crap out of him. I killed him 5 times. I wish I could flip these 2 results. I could have used 5 hits down here by the shore, but what are you going to do? And that's the situation for 9th and 21st Marines. Mark then reminds me that I still have this battery from 12th Artillery Regiment I forgot to fire, and also this tank company that he generously donated to 3rd Division. So thanks very much for that. That will give me a little bit more of a long-range attack against this stubborn position. I only knock out 1 more figure, but hey, I'm not going to complain. That's 1 less Japanese company shooting back at me. And now, for the Blitz phase, this is where I gotta start making some tough decisions, because I still am hung up on this position that is clinging to the coast there, those coastal cliffs. So I gotta reduce that. I want to push across the amphitheater, but I still have more Japanese positions on my other flank, and I have to maintain contact with 25th Marines, 4th Marine Division, there on my left. So I've got a lot to do all at once. I can't stretch myself too thin. Okay, so here come my attacks. Again, I've sort of split 21st Marines. It's a dangerous thing to do, but I've got to reduce this position here on the coast. So, again, here's a whole bunch of dice. I'm looking for 6s. Only 2 successes, so, yeah, okay. Again, that's not enough to choose that artillery battery. You only get to choose for every 3rd hit. Now, meanwhile, I'm knocking out this bunker with the green dice on it. That green dice shows that it's already taken 2 hits. I only have to do a little bit more damage to knock it out. 1 more hit, and it can't shoot back at me. 2 more hits, it's a crater, and I do 3 more hits. So, yeah, that bunker is an unpleasant memory, to say the very least. Let's go ahead and put some smoke on him to show that he is no longer a concern of the 3rd Marine Division. And there's still 1 Japanese field gun left by the coast. Damn that guy! Meanwhile, the battle for Mount Suribachi continues. You will notice there is a lot more Marine figures there, backing up what used to be just kind of a handful of survivors of 28th Regiment, 5th Marine Division. That is because Jim Dundorf has now landed with his whole new regiment. That's the 3rd Marines of 3rd Marine Division. Yeah, there's their little unit counter there. You can see where they're bringing up all kinds of support. I'm not going to lie, in the nick of time, because 28th Marines was starting to look a little emaciated there. They took a lot of casualties so far getting up that hill. I didn't think they were going to be able to take all of Mount Suribachi by themselves. And sadly, I think that is where we're going to call it for today, folks, because there are some real-life considerations, and some of the players are out of time. So, a little regrettable because, as you can see here, 28th Marines of 5th Marine Division and 3rd Marine Regiment of 3rd Marine Division did not quite reach the summit of Mount Suribachi, but spoiler alert, there aren't too many Japanese units left between them and the summit, so we're not too worried about that. What's a little more disappointing is that we didn't quite get to Moriyama Airfield number 2, but that's okay, we've cleared all our other objectives, so no worries there. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this game as much as we did playing it. Thank you so much to Pete Panzeri for an absolutely fantastic Iwo Jima table and war game. And there you have it, folks. With the first airfield completely in American hands, the quarry cleared, the amphitheater cleared, and 28th Marine Regiment halfway up the slopes of Mount Suribachi, we're going to call this an American victory. I mean, to be honest, it's a convention-style participation game, so how else is it going to turn out? But it was great to participate in such a big game on such a big table with such a great team of players, and once again, using great operational level rules like Pete Panzeri's Rommel Rules system. Operational scale war games in general tend to have this fantastic habit of sinking into an absolute quagmire of additional rules covering minutiae like supply, administration, logistics, asset allocation, engineering construction, a whole host of other things. This often leads to a lot of record keeping and paperwork that frankly isn't so much fun. But Pete's system gives players a great taste of operational level command without sinking into this quicksand, and this is what makes it such a great introduction to this subgenre. And that's where we're going to leave it for now, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Please remember to hit that notification bell. Also, please consider joining the Sitrep Podcast Discord. There is an auto-accept invitation link to our Discord in the description of this video. Join our community, see what everybody's up to, and best of all, show us what's happening on your hobby table. But for now, this is Oriskany with the Sitrep Podcast. We are rounds complete for another episode, and as always, Tango Mike for watching.